Good afternoon. I'm back with another video for Art Books for Creativity, where I talk about my collection of books and the ones that I have used for the last nearly 30 years probably, and inspiring me with the kind of art that I like to paint. And maybe you'll find these interesting as well. So I'm a brand new channel, and I was looking at some of the views, and the most views so far were on the rock art books that I had done a couple of weeks ago. So I have several more rock art books, so I thought for this week I would finish this out and show you the other books that are in my collection that have been inspiring me really for 30 years now. If I had done this 20 years ago, I would probably have 20 books, maybe 25 to show you. Now I've got it pared down to 6 books, but you never know, I'll probably add more, because I've gotten back into painting petroglyphs again, and I'm always mining them for all kinds of interesting shapes and images and symbols and anthropomorphs and zoomorphic images. So the books I want to share with you today are what's currently in my collection, and we're going to start off with this one, which is called Rock Art Symbols. The author on this book is Alex Patterson, and this book was published in 1992. Most of my books I have are going to be a little bit older books, but you can still find them. This one I actually picked up in a really cool little old bookstore in downtown Afton, Wyoming. So it was really great to see that they had a section there on rock art, and this is, I've had this book before in my collection, so it was great to find the book. I've earmarked some of the pages so I can show you what they focus on. This one here is the Greater Southwest, so these are Native American petroglyphs, and one of the things that I like about this book, I'll show a little close-up, is you see a lot of the rock art symbols along with a description of what some of these symbols are. And again, a little more close-up, hopefully you can see all that. So if you're like me, I did paintings on silk of petroglyphs. I also, when I took a break from silk for a number of years, I also transferred that same imagery into acrylics on canvas, and I did those for a few years as well. Some of you, maybe depending on where you live in the country, if you're anywhere west or southwest, you'll recognize this little guy. This is the famous Kokopelli, and depending on the part of the country the Kokopelli's from and the Native American tribe, he'll have different looks, but he's always known as the flute player. He's always got a flute. Sometimes he'll have something on his back. It just, like I said, it really depends. And that's this book. So we're going to show you this one again, Rock Art Symbols of the Greater Southwest. All right, this book is called Magic on the Rocks, and it is the Canoe Country pictographs. And there's a difference between petroglyphs and pictographs. Petroglyphs are etched in the stone or hammered into the stone, whereas pictographs are painted on the stone. Now, the canoe area would be north of where I live currently, and that is going to be your Boundary Waters region, which is northern Minnesota going up into southern Canada. And as you would expect, the petroglyphs that you're going to see, or the pictographs you're going to see in this area, are going to be completely different. So I've earmarked a couple of images here. This one I thought, wow, that is very, very interesting, and I really hope you can see that image. And it is an anthropomorphic image, but it's got a lot of interesting extensions coming off of its head, and it's only got a lower, not even the complete lower part of its body. This one would be a great image to use for some inspiration in a painting, for sure. And then an animal that you would see up in this part of the country would be caribou, or reindeer as they're known. Don't see them down in the Southwest at all. Along with, find this guy, the moose. The moose is not an animal that you're going to see in the southwestern part of the country. A moose is definitely, up in the northern part of Minnesota to going into Canada. This one also had what I thought was a very interesting anthropomorphic people figure right here. And then this figure right here is a thunderbird, and you'll see thunderbirds in pretty much all the different rock art in all the different parts of America, and maybe even not in America, but a thunderbird also could be called a phoenix in other cultures, but the thunderbird, you know, very powerful symbol and very powerful bird to many of the Native American tribes. This one here, this one kind of fascinated me when I saw this book. This one is Hawaiian petroglyphs, and some of you might actually recognize this one because I see these as stickers on the back windows of people's cars, and that's the turtle petroglyph. So I'll bet you now that you've seen it, you're going to notice it, right? Anybody that goes to Hawaii is probably going to pick up a sticker for the back window of their car. But I thought this one had some really awesome anthropomorphic figures. So that's this page right here. This one here even is so interesting to me because, you know, that could be, you never know, it could be a spaceman. Who knows, right? That's what's half the fun of trying to look at these and interpret, well, what was the real meaning behind this and what were they really trying to depict? This one here, the author, maybe they had an illustrator as well, they outlined these two big rock faces, and so they've shown that there's a really great hunting scene going on here, and look at that a little closer so you can see it. But those are, it's just, all these books are just great. If you're looking for some inspiration and you're looking for petroglyphic images, these are great. This one is called Rock Art of the American Southwest. This one is by Fred Hirschman and Scott Thiboni. Let's see what year this one was published. Sorry, I didn't tell you the other ones. Let's see. International, 1992. All right, so I found some really great examples here. This one would be a concentric circle, could represent a sun spiral, could be something that, you know, bisected, you know, maybe during summer or winter solstice when the sun is at a certain level in the sky, and that would be how they know the change of seasons is coming. You see a lot of concentric circles and spirals in the Southwest. These are really cool because you see a lot of hands on rock walls in the Southwest. Looks like on these, they blew around them with paint. So these would be under the pictograph category. And then this one over here is interesting because this is a corn stalk and it is connected to a hand. So that could be symbolizing, you know, the handwork that goes into growing the corn and connecting them through that type of threading. I've actually seen a couple of these ones in person. Very well-known rock walls, very interesting anthropomorphic figures. This one here. A lot of these petroglyphs will be kind of through Utah, Arizona, and probably New Mexico for the most part. And then here's two good examples of pictographs, which are the painted version. We've got a pronghorn antelope on this one. And then this one here looks like it is a buffalo shaman or maybe a buffalo dancer, but you know, he clearly has a headdress on. It has the horns from a buffalo. Very interesting piece. And again, you know, we've got a hand symbol here. Not quite sure what that one is, but that's half the fun, I said, of just looking at these and trying to figure out what they possibly are. I'm going to do this one next. This I picked up. Now, every time I go to a national park, I pick up a book on the national park. This one is Petrified Forest National Park. Now, if any of you have ever driven Highway 40 through Arizona, you'll drive right by the entrances to Petrified Forest National Park, and you'll wonder to yourself, is this worth even going in and visiting? I can't see a darn thing from the highway. Well, yes, indeed, it is absolutely worth going into Petrified Forest National Park. And there's many, many petroglyphs in here. And I've found a couple pages where they highlighted them very well. And the vast majority of them are on rocks, like this one, for example. If you look kind of towards the bottom of that rock, it's right down there. And you've got to get sometimes even just walk down, get out of the parking lot, walk down a little ways, and you will start seeing them carved onto the bottoms of rocks. This has got to be one of my favorite all-time petroglyphs. This is a mountain lion. I just love the absolute stylization of this mountain lion. It's really a wonderful example of a zoomorphic petroglyph. And then these right here, again, this one's etched into a rock, big slab. And then this one here is just a close-up, and there's many, many, many figures in this one. There's zoomorph and anthropomorph figures, as well as symbols. And again, there's only 3 pages really with good photographs, but like I said, this is a thing I do. I always collect a book from our national parks when I go in there, along with postcards and all kinds of fun things. So, and there were so many petroglyphs there, I thought, man, I've got to get a book. This is the only original book from my original collection, and it's very well loved and worn, and pages are starting to actually fall apart. This is Tapam Veni. Tapam Veni is a Hopi word for either hammered mark or pounded sign. This book is Patricia McCreary doing these incredible illustrations, and Eckhart Malatke, who I believe wrote most of the text and is probably the researcher. I think he was a professor down at one of the universities, maybe in Arizona. This one was done in 1994, and this is the best book, and it's why I never got rid of this book in the first place. But there's pages and pages of Patricia's beautiful dotted drawings of all of these different petroglyphs that are all over this area. Now, they include the petrified forest in here, but primarily what this region is known as is the Mogollon Rim of Arizona. So there's just a plethora of petroglyphs throughout this area. And this is what they have documented. Here's the second page with nothing but anthropomorphic figures. They're just incredible. And this is one of the big rock walls down there. Again, you can see it much better in the way that she has illustrated this than maybe sometimes even in the photograph, because the rocks themselves can get worn by time and, you know, unfortunately people touching them, and to have somebody go and sit there and take that time to do those drawings. These are some excellent photographs right here. And I'll put that a little closer up to the camera so you can see it. So another page I've got marked out. I've got several pages. Here's some very interesting figures as well. Here's some just taken right out. They're out in the open. They're on just rocks that have, you know, fallen off to their sides, but, you know, they were etched into. Many of the rock art pieces that are out in that part of the country can be anywhere from 600 years old to maybe upwards of 2,000 years old, just based on the carbon dating that they've been able to do on these rocks. Again, another excellent example of some really great images here. I think I've got one more page. Oh, this is one of my favorite petroglyphs. Such an unusual looking guy, isn't he? Just kind of fun, and at the same time mysterious, wondering, what could that be? What could that be? It's definitely a person, but, you know, could be a shaman, could be, you know, could be a headdress on there, you know, just not 100% sure. I love that they've got these big feet here down. They've got those carved into the rock too. So this one's Tapam Veni, Patricia McCreary, and Eckhart Malatke. And again, you should be able to find books like this on Amazon or thrift books. And like I said, I was in this cool little independent bookstore for this particular one, you know, just right there in the bookstore, and I picked it up while I was in Wyoming. So if you're like me and you like ancient rock art, ancient history, you're gonna have a lot of fun with these. I know that I have used rock art symbols in my own personal art for many, many years off and on, and they're just so inspiring and so fun. And they're also very spiritual, they're reverent, they have a connection that we can make to history, to ancient man, and they're just endlessly fascinating to me. So that is my video for today on rock art part 2, and I hope to be back with you again next week, and we'll see what I come up with from my collection that you see back here. And thank you again for joining me. And if you don't mind, maybe give me a like or give me a follow. I would really appreciate that. And I hope that you enjoy this series. Thanks a lot. Bye.